What's up, everybody? Nate, Startup Nation. I got Leigh Marshall back again. We're going to have another episode here about adversity. I think we have some pretty good advice and just some perspective that we want to give you all when it comes to adversity. We'll be fully admitting that we both come from pretty decent backgrounds and we're raised in good households, but I think we also have exposure to a lot of friends and other people that we've spoken to throughout our years. No, we're not 21. That has had a tremendous amount of adversity, and we have some opinions that we want to share with you guys, and then please feel free to comment on anything you want on the podcast. We love to hear the feedback. So today we're going to talk a little bit about adversity again, and then also kind of your upbringings. I think one of the things that I have an opinion on, and I'll get Leigh's opinion, is that your upbringing in a harsher environment, or an environment where it's single parent, or an environment that doesn't have a lot of money, I think makes life a lot more difficult. Yet those people or those kids and intuitively or organically have more grit than maybe somebody that is born into a wealthier family. For me personally, I wasn't born into a wealthy family. I definitely had a good household. Parents were very good. They were just still together, all that. But my dad worked in Tijuana fixing Greyhound racetracks. So like Christmas was like, hey, we're gonna spend like $100 on all 3 kids. I mean, I'm not bitching, because I think that, if I borrowed 50 cents from my parents when I was younger, I literally paid it back. They had this stupid wooden change bowl that if you took 50 cents out of it, they said, Nate, you gotta go pay it back. Because I remember taking my bike and riding it down 7-Eleven and buying baseball cards. And then I would like balance my parents' checkbook when I was young to care. And I think they didn't give a shit because it was like $200 in it, I remember, right? And so really good like family culture, but clearly wasn't born into money. Right. But it taught me the importance of money. It taught me the importance of hard work. I mean, I was 13 years old, freaking pulling weeds, right? There's a million other people that had way more adversity than that, but I think because of that, it really taught me the importance of hard work and then earning what you want. Versus, I have a friend, I won't name on here, that was born into a very wealthy family that was driving Lamborghinis when he was younger and kids, and he has no comprehension of money, and responsibility is taking him much longer to understand, and when he has problems, he always knows there's always going to be a pick-me-up if he falls down, right? For me, it's like, if you fail, you better fucking figure out how to fix it, right? Mommy and daddy just weren't going to loan me money if I totaled my car, type of thing, right? And so let's talk a little bit about, I know you have a tremendous amount of experience because you have kids that are on your team that were homeless or some crazy stories. So why don't you share some of those and your opinion on what I just shared and go from there?
Yeah, I think that it's all kind of what you see when you're younger or what your parents expect of you. I definitely have dealt with adversity. Junior college is especially unique just because a lot of times these are the students that academically don't make it at the 4-year, can't get in, or they financially can't make it. And that's what we see a majority of. And so I have a player right now that was one of 12 children, and she's actually a twin, and her twin sister, they were all put into foster care, all 12 of them. So she has been in foster care almost her entire life, and they moved down here for Palomar College basketball because it's a long story, but I actually coached her, kind of her head of her house that she lived in when she lived in one of the homes for foster. And so she's down here, she works full-time, she is a student athlete full-time, she is probably gonna earn a scholarship out of Palomar and be able to go on to a 4-year and complete her dream. She wants to be an RN, and she's gonna be great at it, but it's very interesting to see maybe some of the girls that we get from different backgrounds when they are faced with adversity in comparison to someone like the player I just mentioned. Because for her, it kind of seems like this is no big deal. The things I've been through, I can do this. And so, but also understanding how important it is for her to get the job done in the classroom, on the court, because she knows that this is her way out. And I do have a lot of those kids that this is their way out. I've had a player whose parents were both incarcerated, and she had no help at home. She had younger siblings. And so to understand the background that people come from and what they're willing to do to succeed, and that they don't let challenges stop them or obstacles get in their way.
One of my other podcasts, you guys may remember Zach. This is a little bit of a different adversity, but he was born in not a wealthy area at all. His dad worked his ass off. He got to a point where he was building like 40 or 50 restaurants at one point, and he this was self-derived where he did this, but he was so caught up on building the restaurants and being successful, he actually couldn't attend his father's funeral because he was building a restaurant, right?
Wow.
Clearly that's like self-generated adversity.
Right.
But the point is that adversity is one of those things where he had to then kind of check where he was at in life and figure that stuff out. So there's all different types of adversity that are out there. I have another friend, and you'll hear him on an upcoming podcast, that was literally picking grapes out of a field 2 years ago. I just showed her off camera. And he'll be on a podcast here coming, and now he owns a business that might go nationwide. So I'm of the firm belief that you have a little bit more of a mental toughness perspective. Green Guard Services hires a lot of guys that maybe had second chances. We're not hiring like murderers or anything, right? But guys that maybe haven't made a lot of really good decisions in their life.
Yeah.
But once you give them opportunity, it's amazing what people have. I mean, you probably say like the perspective of this girl that was either incarcerated or this one that works full time. The fact that they have to go work really long days and go to school, and that probably isn't as big of a deal with them, seeing that they grew up in a foster environment, which can't be easy, versus maybe somebody that was born into money where it's like a 10-hour day might be long for that person because they never had to deal with any type of true adversity in their life, right? And so that's what we're getting at when it comes to, and that doesn't mean that if you didn't come from a wealthy household that you maybe weren't raised to have strict rules and all that type of stuff, but we've just seen historically as a generality that people that come from a little bit of a rougher background or people that had more challenges growing up tend to be much tougher from a mindset perspective.
Definitely.
And I think it really, really helps when it comes to successes in life. I think a lot of millionaires are really are self-made millionaires. They're not from old money. Grant Cardone's a perfect example. If anybody knows, most of you that are listening to at least heard the name. He's one of United States' biggest real estate investors and a huge motivational speaker. And he was a huge drug addict for a long time.
Oh, wow.
And he was I think, exiled from his house, and he didn't talk to his parents, and a bunch of crazy stuff happened. And now the guy owns his own jet and does all this stuff, and it really helps people out. And a lot of that's because he went through the lowest of the low to get to a point where he's like, none of this other stuff is really that big of a deal, right? Because it's all perspective based on experience if you really think about it, right?
Right.
So let's talk about that. If you're used to getting a ton of money and getting what you want when you're a kid, and all of a sudden your trust fund goes dry or something in between there, and all of a sudden you want to go buy a $100 video game, you're gonna probably feel like you're gonna think that that's a big deal because it was given to you.
Right.
But if you had like for me, when I was picking weeds at 13 years old, my first real paycheck when I worked at Circle K was I think it was like $86, something like that. I kind of remember it was under $100. But I'm like, holy shit! I used to get like $20 to pull weeds, right? And so my first paycheck, I always promised I'm gonna buy myself a nice pair of shoes. But that $65 pair of shoes back then, I'm like, I'm not gonna spend my paycheck ever again on it. Something that expensive, but I earned it. But it was like a lot of money to me, right? Where in the other scenario, $100, they're just like, well, they used to get that, right? It wasn't even a second thought. So it's a different perspective on how you look at things, and that's really what drives that mindset. And so I think it's really important people understand that. That's why I had to buy my first car, and why when I borrowed money, I had to give it back to him. And I think for me, that worked out really well for me. And I think for most people, that philosophy probably is something that they can really touch and feel, right? Because if you have that mindset, things in life tend to be a little bit easier, because when something serious happens, you've dealt with something in that capacity, and it makes it a little bit easier. So.
Definitely. I think we talked about this a little bit before, but it's all how you respond or look at things. And so that, we'll talk about on the court, it's not, if adversity is going to hit us during this game, it's when it's going to hit, because it is going to hit, and how do you respond to that? And you'll see some of the girls with different backgrounds be able to respond differently than maybe someone who has had everything handed to them. The great part about junior college, like I said, is we do have girls from different walks of life, but about 80% of the girls that I have on my team have to work. And so that is a whole nother dynamic to watching people have to take care of themselves and not let somebody else or expect someone else to give to them. And so do you grow through adversity? Do you look at it as a failure? Are you able to respond? And there's gonna be a lot of failure. Like we talked about earlier, I think failure is something that people are scared of. They don't want their children to experience failure. They don't want, others around them to experience failure, but that's how you grow. It's necessary, So if you're not having that, if you haven't experienced some type of adversity, you're gonna struggle in the real world, because the real world it's not easy. You know, people, you're gonna get offended. Everyone's offended these days about everything, including you, Nate. But no. So I just think it is important. Your background's important, but it's also what you make of it. You know, I had my mom was single until I was 9 years old. So I had that 9-year gap where I watched her struggle. We lived with my grandparents and my aunt and my cousins in this little condo. And then when I was 9, she remarried, and I had a great, 2-parent home, but that doesn't mean other aspects of adversity didn't hit me. So I do think watching my mom go through all that, until I was 9 had a big impact on me, and being just like especially a strong female. I think that's really important as well. We don't always have to be the nurturers or the lovers or the carers. Like, it's okay for us
that
to
explains
be.
a lot now.
It explains everything. So I just think that watching her struggle through adversity, I had to go outside. I wasn't allowed to come back inside till the lights went out, right? Yeah. Or came on. Yeah. So it was dark. Like, we had to go outside. We had to kind of fend for ourselves. And watching her struggle was a really important part of my life, and being able to now kind of do what I do on a day-to-day basis in the classroom with my health students or on the court with my athletes.
Yeah, I think we can talk a little bit about sports here too, because it's right down your avenue.
Yeah.
I still play soccer to this day. I played it my entire life, but I think sports is really important. Yes. If you can get involved in some capacity. It doesn't have to be like sports like soccer or basketball. It could be dance, or it could be anything, because all that type of stuff creates failures.
Yes.
And if anybody's listened to the Will Smith fail forward video, listen to it. It's incredible. But you can look at failure as a negative, or in my opinion, you can look at it as positive. I actually, and this is maybe kind of fucked up, I look at when my employees fail, I kind of laugh at them and tell them, and I'm happy it happened, and they look at me like, what is wrong with you? And I say, it's good because it's a learning experience.
Right.
So as long as you don't make that mistake 2, 3, 4 times,
right,
you learn from it, and that's far better than me sitting there saying, don't do this, because it's probably not going to, 1, it's not going to be nearly as effective, and 2, it's it won't stick with you. So in sports, or in dance, or in tennis, or in basketball, or whatever it is, you constantly fail.
Yeah.
And I'm saying constantly, multiple times a game. In soccer, there's so many times where you could just screw up a pass. I mean, basketball's like that too, but I don't. And she might argue this, but I think soccer's almost even more so, because you could have 5, 6, 10 missed passes in a game. If you do 5 or 10 turnovers in basketball, that's a whole different deal, right? But you could screw up constantly in sports, and at that point, you start critiquing yourself and understanding, hey, it's not that big of a deal. Continue to work on getting better. Continue to give it your absolute best. Yeah. And it creates that mindset where you start understanding that stuff, and then stuff in life just tends to not be as big of a deal for you.
Yeah, I think with basketball, we talk about all the time, basketball is actually a game of failure, because if you shoot 50% from the field, you are an elite shooter. Think about that.
It's like baseball. If you bat 300, you're great, but you miss 70% of the time, you suck.
Yeah, so if anything in life you do 50% in the classroom, at work, you'll get fired. You're failing. Yeah, so we talk about that all the time, that it's a game of failure. We also talk about being able to, what you do with that failure. You hear a lot of people say, my confidence. And so preparation breeds confidence. And so I do hear a lot of girls, when they're faced with adversity, and maybe it's continuously, and then they'll be like, my confidence is shot. Well, if you put more work in, you're going to build your confidence. And so that's in any aspect of life, but you need to prepare. And so everyone, I've said it before, but I think it's so important, because everyone will tell you they want to win. But what do you do to prepare to win? Do you set yourself up? Do you meal prep? If you're trying to lose weight, do you, get to the gym? Do you wake up an hour earlier? I hear a lot of people, and even in health class, talk about, well, I have kids, I have this, I have that, I don't have time. And we all have the same 24 hours. And so, do you prepare to win every day by waking up an hour earlier, getting in, making the most? It's not about quantity, it's about quality, and it's what you do with it.
I think this is a good point. We're going to go way off tangent like we always do in Startup Nation, but I think I talked to this guy that'll be on the podcast next week, and I've talked to you about this too. When you have goals and you have all the same 24 hours, I get a lot of people, and I'm gonna start saying I told you so without saying I told you so. Yeah. Oh, Nate, you'll see when you have a kid. Really? I'm a month in. Nothing's changed, so you know what I'm gonna say to you. But the point is, and I'm sure it'll get worse, but the point is, I don't make excuses, like I said in the previous podcast. But what I'm getting at is, based on your goals, being an elite basketball player, it's how much you're willing to give up. Right. Where's your pain threshold when it comes to how much you're willing? Are you willing to give up video games? Are you willing to?
Yes.
Like, I can't tell you how many times I've invited her to come hang out with us. She goes, I got a basketball game, right?
I do.
But it's because she's willing to give up more
Yeah.
than probably most coaches,
Yeah.
which is why she's never available during the season, which is fine, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, because she's willing to give up that much and have that much of a pain threshold to give up so much in her life to become one of the best coaches within her leagues and within the state,
Yeah.
she's going to succeed. She gave up way more than most people. So that's the same philosophy with me and my business. I'm willing to give up more than 99% of people or
Right.
more, right? And so when you're willing to give up more and give in your life, if it's even those fun things because you know that the end goal is worth it,
Yeah.
then you're going to succeed. And that goes into preparation. So, prepare for your coach's speeches, prepare for your big meeting that we had yesterday downstairs, which we did.
Right.
Prepare for those things. So then you actually succeed at what you do versus just saying, oh, like, we're not ready for it. You just wing it every single time. And
Yeah.
that never works, especially in sports.
Yeah.
Because
No.
have you heard the Kobe Bryant, the thing what he did?
Wow.
So Kobe Bryant, most professional basketball players from what I read, practice twice a day. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's true.
Oh yeah.
So they practice twice a day, usually lunch and then a later time of the day.
Right.
He went in his book called it was a guy who's Relentless.
Yeah.
That
With Tim Grover, right?
Tim Grover, yeah.
Yeah.
I just listened to it again,
Yeah.
an audiobook. But he would literally wake up at 4:30, practice at like 5:30 or 6,
Yes.
have breakfast, practice at noon, have lunch, and practice at night.
Right.
Over 10 years, he's now practiced 30% more than any other player in
Right.
the NBA. So the amount of preparation he had and experience
Right.
is what made him so much better. It wasn't
Right.
because he was naturally gifted.
Right.
And he was willing to give up that
Yeah.
much in his life, lack of sleep, time with friends, all that
Right.
crap, to be that much better than everybody else.
Yeah.
And you're a perfect living example of
Yeah.
that. You're willing to give up so much to be
Yeah.
able to be at your level.
Yeah, I think it's twofold. I think I want a state title, or I want these kids to be successful, move on, whatever we deem successful, which is watching them graduate college, honestly, more than I want to get a drink or go out or whatever. So I want that more, but then also the other point of that is you surround yourself with people that are like-minded.
Yeah.
And so that's the biggest thing I see, especially like in the younger generation, because I am around them every day. It's you are who you surround yourself with. And so my significant other is a coach, and he wants the same, we have the same goals in that aspect. And a lot of our friends, whether they're coaches or not, they are about winning, and they have that same dynamic. And so, like you said, it may seem brash to people that don't understand you, but I'm very clear in what my goals are, and I'm very, concise, and I surround myself with people that are like-minded. So I think I'm willing to give up a lot more than others, like you said, and I think you have to be successful in business, the same thing. But you also surround yourself with people that have that same, mentality or want the same type of goals.
And you almost get to a point where you have to say no to people a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sad. People,
Yeah.
And this isn't like to pat myself on the back, but I get a ton of people that say, hey, let's go get coffee, let's go do this. And I literally say, what do you want to accomplish during this time?
Yeah.
Like, unless they're friends of mine,
Right.
I'm not going to just go get coffee with somebody to get coffee. I want it to be because we're talking about something that's positive or something that's going to be
Right.
co-beneficial to both of us, not just because you want to meet with me or
shoot the shit, yeah.
shoot the shit, right? I'd rather surround myself with people that do something
Yeah.
that's effective, right?
Yeah.
Something like what you and I are doing, I'd rather do because it's going to help people out there versus just have
Right.
coffee with somebody to say, hey, Nate, tell me your story. It's like, I don't watch my podcast and listen to my story.
Yeah.
That doesn't, I'd rather affect the greater good, similar to you,
Right.
versus have a drink or whatever it
Yeah.
may be, right? And so I think people need to really understand that when it comes to adversity, is that adversity with the mindset helps, but maintain that mindset is really driven by who you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
I've said this a gazillion times on this podcast. Name the 5 people that are most prominent in your life.
Right.
And honest to God, ask yourself, what value do they bring you? It sounds selfish as fuck,
No,
but it
yeah.
does, because you're gonna bring value to them too. You know that. So I just had this discussion with another woman at the gym, and we got an argument about it because she freaking finally listened to me and dumped this guy, right? And I'll tell you off camera, but the point is she finally did it and goes, "Nate, you were right." I'm like, "I know I'm right." It's very logical, right? But people have a hard time like letting go of friends of 10 years or letting go of brothers or sisters. It's shitty. But if you want to maintain that mindset and continue on with your life, you have to make those decisions.
Definitely. I agree with that.
So thanks for listening to Startup Nation podcast. Adversity, mindset, who you surround yourself with, very important. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow me on Instagram. Truly appreciate it. Thanks for all the support, guys. Have a great day.